Don't you think that earthquakes, tsunamis, and other disasters have become much more frequent lately? This also worries National Aeronautics and Space Administration specialists, as it is a sign that something global, beyond our understanding, is approaching Earth. Are you tired of conspiracy theories and fake apocalypses? Don't believe in hellish Armageddons, alien invasions, or asteroid impacts? Then you'll have to reconsider your views and throw away that infamous tinfoil hat. Because a planet is rushing toward us at incredible speed, one that was once predicted by the crypto-historian Zakar Sitchin. Its name is Nibiru, and it visits the solar system only once every 3,600 years, slipping between Mars and Jupiter.
Hubble.
The consequences for humanity after such a massive object passes near Earth are obvious. Life on Earth will change dramatically if it survives. The killer planet will cause gravitational disturbances that will push Earth off its orbit as if it were a weightless splinter. And what happens next will depend on where we get thrown. If it's toward the sun, the climate will soon heat up to unimaginable extremes. And by the time our world falls into a satanic furnace, there will be no one left to save. If the Earth drifts off into deep space, it will slowly turn into another wandering planet, lifeless and frozen. Collisions with other celestial bodies along the way are also possible. But even if the gravitational influence of Nibiru doesn't cause such global changes, humanity still won't survive. It's like trying to stay in shape while facing kilometer-high tsunamis, deadly typhoons, and mountain ranges turning to dust in seconds. But what can we do to avoid a catastrophe on a planetary scale? Maybe these are just baseless fantasies from conspiracy theorists and there's nothing to worry about. Then why is the press full of statements, each more terrible than the last? Well-known scientists don't rule out the chance of an irreparable cataclysm from outside. Photos of Nibiru scare internet users much more than any other information. It is assumed that the monstrous planet is 5 times bigger than Jupiter, and even Jupiter's gravitational influence is extremely important for the existence of our planetary system. It's scary to imagine what would happen if the gigantic Nibiru approached Earth. Additionally, alternative information has also been made public. National Aeronautics and Space Administration employee Jim Green claims that, according to theoretical models, Planet X is several times larger than Earth, and its orbital period around the Sun ranges from 10 to 20,000 years. But let's try to lower the tension a bit, calm down and figure out the question: where did the myths about Nibiru come from? And why did the previously mentioned Zachariah Sitchin decide that such a planet even exists? He wasn't the only one to speculate about the celestial body codenamed X. Other scientists like Percy Valley-Lewell also discussed it. It all started when astronomers were intrigued by strange deviations in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune. These unexplained anomalies were quickly linked to an unknown celestial body with unaccounted mass. When Pluto was discovered, it became clear to everyone that such a tiny object could not cause noticeable gravitational disturbances. Since then, the search for Planet X has continued permanently, but why Nibiru specifically? The thing is, in Sumerian mythology, which Zechariah referred to, this object is mentioned repeatedly, as well as godlike beings who supposedly live on it. The Sumerians' culture and language have no counterparts in Earth's historical records. Thus, the legend of the ancient civilization's extraterrestrial origin. But after all, Sitchin wasn't the only one who knew about this fact. Is it possible that the world government is unaware? Maybe like in the movie 2012. Right now, are arcs being built somewhere, not floating ones, but jet-powered, ready at any moment to take the best representatives of humanity to a safe distance from a dying Earth? Think about it, doesn't that remind you of anything? Attentive people will immediately think of the much-hyped company SpaceX. Don't you see any parallels with Planet X? Obviously, Elon Musk, having up-to-date information and sensing the imminent death throes of our planet, is actively trying to get out of here as quickly as possible. To be completely honest, the behavior of the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is also cause for concern. Some tabloids claim that the missile tests in North Korea are not meant to scare the planet, but rather to save the world, since old Kim is training for an attack on the approaching Nibiru. Do you also think this is complete nonsense? Just know, we agree with you on that. Yes, Earth is just like any other celestial body and accordingly is potentially vulnerable to attacks from outside. But Nibiru and the supposedly resident Anunnaki, that's just way over the top. Here are a few quite logical, in our opinion, rebuttals that serve as proof that the rumors about Earth's imminent demise are greatly exaggerated. Was Zacharija wrong? The American advocate of paleocontext loosely translated the Sumerian texts, particularly the parts where Nibiru is called the 12th planet. Most scientists believe that, but the fact that this object was identified with Jupiter is a documented fact. Therefore, most likely the amateur Sumerologist was very much mistaken and misled others. It doesn't exist. Astrophysicists are certain that a planet with such mass and orbit absolutely cannot exist within the solar system. Moreover, the Oort cloud or the Kuiper belt, where Nibiru would have to appear at least once every 3,600 years, are extremely unfavorable places for the emergence of life. We're once again discussing the mysterious Anunnaki. Temperatures there nearly reach absolute zero. Another apocalypse? How many false prophecies have you heard? 10, 15, 20? We were promised to be plunged into an artificial black hole created by the Hadron Collider, threatened with the extinction of humanity by the impact of Apophis, predicted a global war and a worldwide pandemic. Maybe they meant the coronavirus, which, by the way, not a single participant of the Psychic Games mentioned, but we made it through all of that safely. Although in the future, maybe Earth will face famine due to overpopulation, environmental disasters, or even being consumed by gray slime. Of course, we're not protected from supernova gamma-ray bursts, supervolcano eruptions, and so on. Fortunately, none of these predictions have come true so far. The Earth sometimes gets shaken up, and it's not the first time. Just think about how many cataclysms have happened throughout the entire history of the planet. There was global glaciation, which happened several times and wiped out all life, the collision with an asteroid that supposedly destroyed the dinosaurs, and the impact of the mysterious Theia, whose fragments are believed to have caused the formation of the moon. Yet we live on, civilization advancing and persistently moving toward technological singularity. So stop panicking. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and other powerful people are still on Earth. The continents won't merge into one Pangaea, and rain falls without signs of meteors. That means you should get doomsday scenarios out of your head because a real apocalypse won't warn you before it arrives. Death will probably come suddenly, and humanity's collective consciousness will switch off like a television losing power. On June 25, 2021, United States intelligence lifted the veil of secrecy that had intrigued not only unidentified flying object enthusiasts. The American government stated that it has no explanations for dozens of unidentified flying objects seen by military pilots. The published report by the Department of Defense mentions 144 reports of unidentified flying object phenomena detected since 2004, and all of them except for one remain unexplained. The authorities have almost for the first time officially acknowledged that unidentified aerial phenomena exist. United States intelligence fears that in this way foreign adversaries may be gathering information and sees this as a potential threat to national security. However, the possibility that the objects are extraterrestrial is also not ruled out. Why have they been hiding the truth from us for more than 70 years? What are these objects? Are they enemies or friends? What does National Aeronautics and Space Administration really know about UFOs? Previously, authorities dismissed unidentified flying object discussions as jokes, but now they view unidentified flying objects as potential national security threats. So what has changed, and why have the military started taking UFOs seriously? For many years, strange and sometimes terrifying incidents have occurred around the world that defy explanation. On January 7, 1948, Captain Thomas Mantell received orders to pursue an unidentified flying object in the state of Kentucky. At 6,700 meters, both his plane and the unidentified flying object vanished from radar, though radio still captured his report about nearing an unknown object. "This thing looks metallic and enormous." Those were his last words. At 5 p.m., Mantell's body was found among the wreckage of his fighter plane. What happened? Was Mantell's plane really destroyed by an unidentified flying object? It is known that the military took away and sealed every single part of his plane. However, the project leader later stated that Mantell had only seen the planet Venus. Let's move on. In the early 1950s, American astronaut Gordon Cooper made a sensational statement that he had seen an unidentified flying object. He and his partner chased strange luminous disks in a fighter jet in the sky over Germany. He also repeatedly saw strange objects waltzing in the sky over the United States military base. Gordon Cooper accused the American government of a long-standing policy of lies and silence, of deliberately hiding from the public many facts related to the unidentified flying object phenomenon. According to the astronaut, the governments of all countries are involved in a conspiracy and silence regarding the presence of aliens on our planet. He believed that, at the official level, any information about this is ridiculed and discredited. By law, National Aeronautics and Space Administration press offices are supposed to report any space phenomena, but for some reason, some of them have been carefully hidden for many years. It seems that more than anything in the world, National Aeronautics and Space Administration is afraid of the word unidentified flying object and calls it atmospheric phenomena. Maybe they know more than we do. Agree, if UFOs were harmless, just idle fantasies of people who imagined something, they wouldn't be kept in secret files. Maybe the authorities are afraid to admit that there are things they can't protect us from. For example, in 1952, a whole squadron of UFOs flew over the capital. They were seen by pilots, radar operators, and ordinary passers-by. The objects made incredible accelerations and turns, things that none of the planes at that time could possibly do. Exactly a week later, the unidentified flying object appeared over the White House again. When the fighter jets arrived there, they were still hanging around, but then they disappeared. At the Pentagon, this event was explained as an inversion of air currents, and they admitted that they record hundreds of similar cases in other places. But the fighter jets scrambled in response turned out to be useless. It seems like someone wants us not to ask too many questions, to believe the stories about Venus, meteors, mirages, and air current inversions. But why? Perhaps under the guise of UFOs there is a secret technology that is being deliberately kept hidden for now. There could be many guesses. It's quite possible to assume that the United States Air Force is working on some developments, and it's beneficial for them if people mistake them for UFOs. What if it's a secret weapon from Russia or China? There was a similar story once. In 1961, relations between the United States and the United States Soviet republics were extremely tense. The countries were on the brink of conflict. One of the reasons was the strange silvery disks that occasionally flew over the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics from the Warsaw Pact zone. They flew at high speeds at unreachable altitudes. For some time, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics believed they were NATO's doing. NATO suspected they were Soviet spies. But it soon became clear that neither side possessed the secrets of such technology. Ufologists believe these flying objects are extraterrestrial, claiming no human could survive such acceleration. In the 70s, the development of the Strategic Defense Initiative program began, which people nicknamed Star Wars. It was supposedly created to protect against Soviet nuclear missiles. Perhaps this was just a cover for a secret war in Earth's orbit, a smokescreen to create ultra-modern weapons that could protect humanity from UFOs. But is this where the secrets of National Aeronautics and Space Administration are hidden? Maybe the Star Wars have already begun and we don't know anything about it. Maybe National Aeronautics and Space Administration is trying to prevent a general panic? Be that as it may, in recent years the United States authorities have changed their attitude and stopped mocking people who supposedly saw UFOs. The Pentagon has even confirmed the authenticity of several videos. However, they are in no hurry to claim that these objects are of extraterrestrial origin. What caused such a sudden change? Perhaps the reason is that people are tired of living in uncertainty and have started demanding answers. Just think about the storming of Area 51, the secret military base where, supposedly, secret research is being conducted on intelligent beings that have arrived on Earth from space. In June 2019, a California student named Matt Roberts created a Facebook event just for fun, inviting anyone interested to storm Area 51 together. Because no security system can stop a large crowd of people. In his rather playful post, he also wrote that by breaking into the base, they might discover samples of alien technology, or maybe even the aliens themselves. A few days later, his joke went viral around the world, attracting more and more participants. Even actors Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny, who played the main roles in the X-Files, supported the idea. The government and military warned of strict action if attacked and reportedly deployed more forces for protection. Did the followers of this movement manage to declassify the secret base? As a result, 2 themed festivals were organized near the zone, Alien Stock and Storm Area 51 Base Camp. About 3,000 people came there, but no more than 70 went to storm the gates of the base, and they soon dispersed. Afterward, the 45th United States President, Donald Trump, who had denied belief in aliens, pledged to declassify information on the possible 1947 unidentified flying object crash. This refers to the owner of one of the ranches in New Mexico who discovered the wreckage of an unknown craft. However, representatives of the United States Air Force at the time stated that it was a weather balloon used as part of a secret project. Do you think we'll ever find out what it really was? At the end of his term, the 45th United States President Donald Trump ordered National Intelligence to prepare a report on unidentified aerial phenomena. Around the same time, the Pentagon released videos recorded by the United States Navy in 2004 and 2015. They show unusual, spherical, and glowing flying objects. The pilots who recorded them said that the objects didn't resemble any aircraft they knew. In particular, they stayed in the air for about 12 hours at a fairly high speed. That requires much more fuel and energy than military aircraft have. The videos appeared online back in 2007 and 2017, but it was only in 2020 that the Department of Defense confirmed their authenticity. All this sparked a new wave of rumors that the United States authorities are hiding something with the help of the military and intelligence agencies. Later, the Pentagon confirmed 8 more similar incidents. In January 2021, the CIA declassified some unidentified flying object research materials. But is American intelligence the only one concerned about unidentified flying objects? It's not only United States authorities who have stopped joking about UFOs. For example, Bill Nelson, the head of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, is also interested in continuing the work on studying unidentified flying objects. Nelson notes that none of the high-ranking officials in the space industry know exactly what the objects observed by United States Navy pilots are. We don't know if they're aliens. We don't know if they're enemies. We don't think it's an optical phenomenon because of the descriptions provided by the Navy pilots, but we want to know. National Aeronautics and Space Administration might also involve the United States military in the investigation. We're living in a very interesting time. Well, now we know a little more about UFOs. But did the United States National Intelligence Report bring more clarity to a phenomenon that, at first glance, seems impossible? Did we get answers to all our questions? Have you ever wondered how galaxies die, when intergalactic space stops supplying cold gas, when there aren't enough resources to form new stars? That's when an incredibly massive collapse occurs, and most galaxies disappear without a trace. But what if you could witness this event? Picture an object with a mass of 1.5 trillion suns drawing in and absorbing gas from smaller galaxies like a magnet. Gradually, there's no strength left to resist the big monster and a collision happens. Then comes the merger and boom, sounds scary, doesn't it? But the scariest thing is that this event has already happened, and not just once. After all, the big monster is the Milky Way, and the magnet is gravity. Who did the Milky Way consume? Are there any galaxies that managed to survive? What will happen when the Milky Way collides with a galaxy larger than itself? For the past few years, the Gaia Space Telescope has been scanning the sky, collecting data for a census of the stellar population. What is the result? Scientists predict this will be the most accurate large-scale 3D map of our galaxy, showing over 1 billion stars. Just recently, the third Gaia Data Catalog was released, which contains information about almost 2 billion stars. But during this work, the Gaia telescope obtained other shocking data. The Milky Way cannot in any way be friendly with small galaxies. This was shocking. It is known that throughout their lifetimes, galaxies often interact with each other. Sometimes they drift apart in space, only affecting each other through gravity, and sometimes they merge into a single object. Our Milky Way is no exception. Over billions of years, it has absorbed at least 15 neighboring galaxies. After each collision, it grew by about 10 million stars. This happens for two reasons. First, the absorbed small star islands add their stars to it. Second, galaxy collisions are accompanied by intense processes that accelerate the formation of stars from interstellar gas. As far as we know, about 60 dwarf galaxies orbit the Milky Way, 12 of which are faint spherical satellite galaxies. They have so few stars and are so dim that the first discovered star was initially mistaken for a fingerprint on the photograph. But there was a time when these ghost galaxies were not lacking in shining stars, so what happened to them? The Gaia telescope made us realize that most of these galaxies formed new stars when they first crossed into the gravitational field of our galaxy. But soon after that, they stopped forming stars because the Milky Way stripped them of their gas, dooming them to fade away. One of the earliest and most spectacular cosmic catastrophes was the collision with a galaxy that astronomers named Kraken, after the mythical monster. At that time, the Milky Way was 4 times less massive, and after their collision it gained at least 13 more globular clusters. They can still be identified. Was this a one-time event? The answer may surprise you. The same thing happened with the Draco Dwarf Galaxy. 11 billion years ago, it crossed the Milky Way region for the first time, formed many stars, and that was it. And then a similar story happened with the Leo White Dwarf Galaxy. It entered the sphere of our galaxy, and at the same time, new stars flared up near it. Since then, neither Draco nor Leo have formed any new stars. They simply don't have the resources for it. There was also a collision with the Hercules Galaxy in the life of the Milky Way. The total mass of its stars was about 500 million suns. Major collisions are extremely rare among spiral galaxies. Do you think humans will ever be able to catch a glimpse of one of the neighboring galaxies before they fade away? The main problem for now is that the universe is just too vast. Traveling at the speed of light to the nearest star would take more than 4 years, and to the other edge of the galaxy over 100,000 years. So what should a fearless space traveler do about this? Even if there was a way to visit another galaxy, such a journey would take far too much time. But let's use our imagination for a moment and suppose it's possible. A human body is frozen to absolute zero. Then the frozen remains are placed in a thick steel container to prevent damage from radiation and even mechanical things like high-speed collisions with dust particles. Then the human body is sent into space, where it travels for 10,000 years in the hope that robots or aliens will thaw it out and bring it back to life. If things turn out well, the person literally wakes up from the dead, realizing that the civilization that sent him no longer exists. There's no point in even sending a message back to Earth. He made it, everything's fine. It would take several years for the message to reach Earth, and who knows if the person will still be alive by the time the message gets there. In fact, such a journey is a one-way trip. Would you go for something like that? Although, who knows? Maybe soon scientists will figure out how to travel through wormholes and a trip to another galaxy won't take so much time. But let's get back to present-day realities, specifically to dwarf galaxies that managed not to succumb to the negative influence of the Milky Way and continued star formation. Among them is Farnax and Carina. Do these galaxies know a secret, or does the Milky Way's gravity not affect everyone? In fact, what saved these galaxies was that they didn't seek friendship with the Milky Way and kept their distance. That's why they managed to keep interstellar gas inside themselves and continue to form new stars for many billions of years after they crossed the realm of the Milky Way. However, as of today, their resources have also been exhausted. But what if there's a galaxy out there that managed to survive and there's life in it? Maybe Gliese 581g, Gliese 876 or Proxima Centauri b will still surprise us. Or maybe it will be entirely new exoplanets that are similar to the solar system. Theoretically, it's quite possible, since there are more planets than stars in the Milky Way. But for now, scientists don't have enough power to detect small planets. And those are exactly the ones that are common in the galaxy. The difficulty is that, unlike stars, they don't emit light. In addition, the bright light of a star can hide a planet. It's like trying to see a speck of dust on a lit lamp. It's time to think about the Milky Way itself. What will happen when it encounters a larger galaxy? Will humanity survive? We don't want to scare you, but our galaxy, the Milky Way, is moving at tremendous speed toward a neighboring spiral galaxy, the Andromeda Galaxy. At some point within the next few billion years, our galaxy and Andromeda, the two largest galaxies in the local group, will collide, which could lead to catastrophic consequences. A number of stars will be ejected from the galaxies, others will be destroyed, and some will be absorbed by the merging supermassive black holes. At the same time, the beautiful spiral structure of both galaxies will be disrupted, and in their place, a new giant elliptical galaxy will form, which may be called Milky. Astronomers have known about this upcoming collision for several years. And based on the speed of movement of our galaxies, they have concluded that such an outcome is inevitable. But what can you do? It's a natural process. When one large galaxy collides with a much smaller one, in most cases it will retain its shape, while the smaller galaxy will be torn apart and become part of the larger galaxy. Astronomers frequently observe such collisions. Andromeda likely collided with at least one galaxy long ago. Our galaxy, as mentioned, has similar experience. Nevertheless, using the word collision in this situation is not entirely accurate, because the extremely rarefied interstellar medium in galaxies means that actual collisions of stars or planets are extremely unlikely. Or maybe we'll get lucky and Andromeda will pass by? Most likely no. According to the latest data, unlike other galaxies, Andromeda is rapidly approaching us. In 2012, researchers determined that the Milky Way and Andromeda are approaching each other at a speed of about 110 kilometers per second. The collision will happen in about 4 billion years. The studies also showed that M33, or the Triangulum Galaxy, the third largest galaxy in the local group, will also be involved in this process. Most likely, M33 will become a satellite of Milky, and then, after some time, will merge with it. When galaxies collide, larger ones absorb smaller ones entirely. If they are similar in size, like the Milky Way and Andromeda, the collision destroys their structure. Therefore, Milky will eventually become a giant elliptical galaxy without a noticeably defined spiral structure. A small number of stars will also form during the collision, and the hottest and youngest of them will explode as supernovae. And all that will remain are older and cooler red stars whose lifespans are much longer. Even though the Andromeda Galaxy contains about 1 trillion stars and the Milky Way has about 300 billion, the chance of two stars colliding is extremely small because of the vast distances between them. It is more likely that they will be thrown out of the new galaxy as a result of the merger of the supermassive black holes currently at the centers of the Milky Way and Andromeda. Most likely, the collision of the Milky Way and Andromeda will not have negative consequences for our system except for the gradual disappearance of the beautiful starry sky. Are you ready for that? Although, fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, we won't be witnesses to this amazing process. Take a look at the screenshots on the screen right now. This is YouTube statistics. What does it mean? Notice that right now, 57% of this channel's viewers are watching without subscribing. This is the true essence of my message to you. Therefore, so you don't miss out on Hubble because of your subscription status, all you need to do is click on this red button that looks like this and is located below this video. The law of the universe is simple. Remember this. After all, each of your subscriptions is very important to me. The more viewers there are, the more often they watch, and the faster a new mega exciting video comes out. Talk to you soon.